This is Mark Gotme. Mark thinks he's on his way back to Earth. Mark is wrong. This is Stationeers. If you've ever looked at an air conditioner and thought, I could do better,
what the fuck?
Then this is the game for you. Mark is going to need to stave off suffocation, starvation, dehydration, decompression, and worst of all, value-added taxation if he wants to make it out of here alive. He's got 100 days to get a signal out before his health insurance company writes him off as dead. He's only got the one life after all, so he better get moving. Well, that didn't go according to plan, did it? This is definitely not Mauritius. This is Mars. They put me on the wrong goddamn planet again. Okay, fine, whatever. We'll make it work. There'll be someone coming to get me. Right? Okay, we gotta figure out where here is. That part still eludes me. I'm not gonna lie to you. What have we got in the box?
What's in the box?
Solo, let's have a look. Okay, we got some emergency supplies here. We got some frames, sure, some sheets, We got a vent, some potato seeds, not food, I'll have you note. We've got some solar power, some production, and I guess a little bit of cereal and water. Well, it's not much. It's not much. Right, but this is definitely not going to be enough to get us started. No, we're gonna need a little bit more, actually. And if I remember my survival manual correctly, it is that we need to go mining first. The first thing we've got to do is collect additional resources so that we can make better use of the ones we've got. We're gonna need a few things here. We're gonna need copper, we're gonna need gold, and we're gonna need iron. That's just to get us off the ground. We'll also need a bunch of silicon in order to inexplicably fabricate plastics. That's gonna be tougher than anything else, maybe. Well, that's plenty of copper. Oh, there's a little smushkit of iron. Okay, so look, we don't normally break the fourth wall just a few minutes into the video, but I'll be the first to admit, there's a lot going on here. But never fear, dear viewer, the Shroom and I are here to guide you along the path to enlightenment. To the right of the screen is the environmental UI. Everything you need to know about how incredibly close Mark is to dying at any given second can be found right over there. On the left of the screen are his inventories. Each piece of equipment has one, and they all do slightly different things. The belts hold his tools, the uniform holds his jewels, the jetpack lets him fly, the suit regulates his air and temperature, and the helmet keeps Mark's insides from becoming his outsides. Now, there are an infinite number of ways to creatively die in Stationeers, and almost all of them involve some degree of user error. So strap in, shove that subscribe button into an airlock, and crack yourself a cold one as we delve into the truest madness you've ever seen put to camera. And where better to begin our descent into this divine comedy than with a solid foundation. Okay, beautiful. We've got a tool belt full of ore. Now we're gonna do something with it. Let's grab the frames here, and I suppose we should grab everything we can. Let's open up our backpack. Uh-oh, and it's getting dark. Let's light one of these flares we started with. That'll get us started. And I guess we just gotta replace everything else in here. That's it, huh? That's all we got to work with. Okay. Let's figure out where we're building our base. I think right over here might just do the trick. Right next to this piece of wreckage. Okay, now we gotta make these frames walkable, because right now they are passable, which is definitely not what we want. To do that, we need to use a welder. With some iron sheets in our other hand, yes indeed, these are now rock solid. Solar power can go here. Let's pop out what we've got. So we've got an area power controller, okay. Looks like that can be opened with a crowbar. Beautiful. We've got a battery, that can go in there. A battery charger, we can put that right over there, make sure to turn it on. And our solar panel. And we can get all the data and power facing the same way. Beautiful. Okay, now we gotta wire that into that. Lovely. Okay, we now have the ability to make power. Let's figure out how to use it. So we've got ourselves an arc furnace. Pretty snazzy. I'll put that right over here. And we've got ourselves an auto lathe. Even snazzier. Right over here. We weld in the iron sheets. We get some cable coils. We get some plastic sheets. And a screwdriver. Beautiful. Now we gotta wire these all up. Okay, gotta make sure that connects to the output side of that APC. And beautiful. These things should now turn on. Yes, they do. But they are running off of that battery, which is very small. So let's give it our suit battery, which is slightly larger.
That's what she said!
Another good one!
You're on fire!
And let's start smelting some ore. Hey, we got our first piece. Okay, more iron. More good. We take this. We put it in here. We can turn this on and make something. I'd like to make additional frames. Oh, I don't have enough iron. Okay. Now I have enough iron. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Pause that for a second. Let's build ourselves a little habitat. With the basics of power supply and industrial demand sorted out, we needed somewhere to live. The shell of an airlock was thrown together using 4 massive cubic frames. These are almost perfect insulators and make really great airlock walls because they won't transfer heat between your pipes and the outside air. They can also withstand insane pressures, which admittedly isn't really all that much of an issue on Mars. At least not at the moment. Welding it up 2 times makes the frames airtight. Let's get some windows on here next. We need 1 more wall and 3 more frames. And a bunch more iron.
Hydration critical.
Yeah, lady, we're working on it. By the end of day 0, Mark had the shell of a shelter ready, but there was still much to do. Like, remind you that if you're enjoying this content, the next episode is already available for all channel members. For the low price of whatever this number is in your local currency, you too can enjoy more content. Endless content. More content than our cave-dwelling brains ever evolved to handle. All right on your doorstep, just waiting for you to reach out and consume it. Do it. Do it now. Consume the content. Give over your mind and your heart to the thankless hunger of an eldritch machine god. Or, you know, you could wait for it to go public in a week. Your call, really. Daylight broke over Mark's first true soul, as these Martian days seem to insist on being called. Now, first on his agenda was getting his new bedroom sealed and pressurized, which would require first running power over to the base from the solar setup, as well as doing a little DIY HVAC work. Hey! Now, this printer can't make vents. That's a problem. That means we need to make our own vent. And this pipe here is going to become our vent. Whether it likes it or not, to be completely honest. Okay, you suck air in at great speed until the pressure in that pipe reaches extreme temperature, extreme pressures. We want to see it blow up. Okay, that'll be close enough. Stop that, and let's do one of these. Squish all that air up into there. And yeah, you can see the stress is climbing rather rapidly. Beautiful. Okay, we've got ourselves a vent. With that done, it was time for a good old Martian lunch. What have we got in this lander? We got some cereal bars, we got some water, we got some cereal bars, we got some water. Beautiful. This is going to be the snack corner for now. Lovely. Crack open a cereal bar. Crack open a bottle of water. And now we need to oxygenate this space. So the easiest way to do that is just going to be to dump a bunch of this ice on the floor. And that's going to melt. And very quickly oxygenate this space. And pressurize it too. 80% oxygen? Yeah, that'll be fine. Got to get ourselves above like 20 kPa. A little... You know what? Chuck the whole stack. It's cold, but it's breathable. Alright. Unlock the helmet. Open the hatch. Here we go. First we eat. Then we drink. Ah. Okay. We're not dead on Mars. Eat your heart out, OSHA. Okay, so why go through all that trouble? Well, now, we can bring this in here with us. We can turn on this and pull a vacuum in our airlock, which means that all of our inside air stays inside. All that sweet, sweet oxygen, that's ours for the keeping now. Alright, you need something to do, and so do I, which means it's time to go mining. Can we make our next printer yet? Yes, we can. Okay, you print that. Go next. Alright, our pipe bender's done. The next thing we need to make are some more sheets so that we can actually build the damn thing. I'm going to put that right over there. And then we need some iron sheets as well. This new printer not only lets us refit the airlock, but also unlocks a ton of options for moving gases around and, arguably more importantly for the mission right now, new and exciting ways of making them stay still. Specifically, Mark needs to find a way to take that nice big cold room full of oxygen and squish it down into his O2 tank, which is rapidly depleting. The idea is very simple. We suck up all the gas in the room using an active vent and put it into the tank. Unfortunately, the gas in there is not pure O2, and try as he might, Mark just can't seem to bring himself to breathe chlorine. Damn coward. Which means he first needs to scrub it out. Thankfully, the laws of thermodynamics are on our side for once, and if we can get the pollutant to a high enough pressure, it'll liquefy and politely eject itself from the pipe network. Okay, how do I know this is going to work? Because if we have a look at pollutants, and we use Celsius, it will turn into a liquid, right? At basically any temperature above 92°C, as long as you can get the pressure high enough. And if we can get it over, what are we at now, 16°C? If we can get it over... ballpark 3.5 megapascals, which we definitely will. It will liquefy and fall out of that drain, and then I don't have to breathe it anymore. Okay, turn on the switch. Vacuum this place out.
Low pressure.
Yep. We still got a little bit of time. So what we're doing is we're allowing the pollutant inside this pipe to liquefy, and it will fall out of that drain over there. Condensation is happening in the pipe, which is exactly what we want. As you can see, the number of milliliters in there is actually decreasing as the pollutant liquefies and falls out of that drain. It's a way for us to purge it without having to use any filters. It's basically free purging. Okay, all of the pollutant in this room has been liquefied. All of the pollutant in there has been expelled, which means we can now flip this around, pump the gas back out, and since all the pollutant has liquefied and let itself out of that one-way valve into the atmosphere, it's no longer in our room. Very cool. We could considerably do the same thing with CO2 and nitrogen and oxygen. You can liquefy all of them. You just got to get the temperatures and pressures correct. It gets a lot harder with the better gases. Okay, so the pipe network is empty. Beautiful. Turn that off. Let's go ahead and actually vent our waste canister into this room. Lovely. So now we don't have to worry about that. And then we need to figure out how we're going to pressurize this thing. So let's take off our helmet. You know, let's throw that on the floor right over there. And let's figure out how we're going to be doing this. Because I am currently in my jammies. I'm in my little jammies. Ideally, we'd have a pressure regulator in there, in line. But I don't think it's going to work right now. So we might just have to eyeball this, which I really hate doing. So in order so we don't blow everything up too quickly, I'm just going to add some pipes for, literally just for volume. Then I'll do anything else. Alright, then I need my suit. We're going to grab this, and we're going to put that over there. So now we should have pure oxygen in this line, but there's not pure oxygen in this room. I can't do anything about that, which is why I have placed a nitrogen and CO2 filters in my suit. Basically, what they will do is all the nitrogen and in this room that we're going to put into this canister, the suit will have to work hard to filter it out so that we only breathe oxygen. Oh well. It is what it is for now. We'll fix it later. Okay, we want to make sure the pressure in this thing does not get above 10 megapascals or it will explode. Oh, perfect. They work perfectly. Alright, so I can put that in there. We have some low pressure, and the room's actually still fine. Okay. Probably don't want to do that too many times. You'll be fine. There we go. Alright, so we've got a fully pressurized air tank. We have an emptied waste tank. We have filters for everything. And, believe it or not, we've got ourselves a little bit of reserve gas in there we can work with later. We do want to filter out the CO2 and nitrogen, though. We don't want to leave that in there forever. Okay. With day 2 already halfway gone, Mark set the auto lathe sights on making the last 2 printers while he went out and did some mining. Alright, you need to make me the tool printer. And I think, to be completely honest, before these errors compound any further, I want to remodel the base slightly. So actually, you pause that and give me some more frames first. Here comes the sun. That's day 3, baby. As the sun set on day 3, Mark began to inexplicably monologue to himself about what all his printers do. And just like that, we've got ourselves a pretty solid manufacturing base. Over on the left, we've got the hydraulic pipe bender, pretty solid little device that'll allow us to build pretty much anything that relates to plumbing. Pipes, vents, valves, all that good stuff. Next to that, as just finished printing, we've got ourselves an electronics printer that will, as you may have guessed, print us all sorts of interesting electronic devices, including programmable IC10 chips once we get the right alloys for it. More on that later. For now, it's printed us some wind turbines, so we're not entirely reliant on this solar panel. We've got our auto lathe, which will print all of our structural components, and lastly, we've got ourselves a tool maker, which, you guessed it, makes pies. That sounds dangerous. And so it is. We have too much CO2 currently floating around in our suit, and we've got to go vent it. Why don't we go ahead and fire that up? And I think the next thing I want to get is some lights. Okay, so open up the waste canister in here. That'll dump all the contents of that into this room. We can put our O2 tank in there, which will give it a few more bar of pressure. And finally, we can eat and drink. Stave off death another day. Don't forget to litter. As fun as all that was, it would be great if we could have, actually seen it, and so a pair of lights were up next on the print queue. Which naturally meant setting up more power as well. A pair of wind turbines would ensure Mark was no longer subject to the harsh tyranny of the sun. Speaking of tyranny, by the way, the arc furnace's reign has gone on far too long. The age of the gas furnace shall soon be upon us. Yeah, just as soon as it's done printing. And it's furnace time, baby! We've got some engineering to do, though. It takes a little bit to get this bad boy working, believe me. So, let's start off with an airtight frame on the floor. That's going to form the basis of our furnace box, and then I'm going to build the furnace itself. Now, you don't have to build the furnace in a box. It just doesn't hurt to do so. Keeping this thing in vacuum will mean it loses temperature less quickly. It's not zero. It is still going to happen. It's just less quick. So we wanted to just peek its nose out the front, which doesn't look like it's going to be an option for whatever reason with where we're lined up here. Oh, that's very annoying. You know what? Put it in the box. It's fine. We'll prettify it later. Okay, wrench in the sheets, weld in the rest, and we've got ourselves a semi-functional furnace. Okay, you can build it on its side, makes it easier to access, but for now, this will work. We're going to automate this as much as we can pretty soon. Okay, next, we're going to want a vent. This is going to be able to allow us to add sort of temperature to the box and also to pull it out. So for now, I'm actually going to just vent any gases we get. Okay, there's the pipes. Now we need to wire things up. And I do see the chaos unfolding over there. I'm going to let it happen, to be completely honest with you. Okay, so why do we want this furnace over the arc furnace? Well, there's a lot of benefits, the biggest one being that it does not consume electricity at all to run, unless you count the brief times you're putting the vent on in order to change the pressure inside. But the real benefit actually is it allows us to make alloys. And alloys are kind of the gateway to the mid-game in Stationeers, and it's what we're definitely going to have to do if we want to get on to the more interesting parts of the game, such as automation and all the other sort of coding wizardry you can do. What we really want today is these. We want to make steel, we want to make Invar, Constantin, solder, and electrum. All of these will allow us to do much more complicated things in the game. So we can actually do all of these in one fell swoop if we have the materials. So that's what we're going to sort out now. We are going to go get all of those materials. I'm going to ditch everything in my pockets, insofar as I can afford to. We're going to just do a quick suit check, and you know what? Maybe we actually take this opportunity to eat and drink, and then we come back out. Ah, crap. I think I just siphoned a bunch of Mars air into my base. I did, didn't I? Yep, I just put a bunch of pollutant in here. Okay, we're going to have to whip out the old vent again. That was my mistake. I did not mean to do that. Virtually all of day 5 was spent hunting for alloy ingredients, and, aside from almost suffocating a couple times, things went pretty damn well. Before he could celebrate, though, Mark would need to deal with that pollutant in the breathing chamber first. For a second time. It will probably not be the last. Alright, are we set? Are we good? I think we're good. Another bite to eat, another sip to drink, helmet back on, and we get out there. Having survived imminent implosion, Mark decided to celebrate day 6 by toying with the imminent explosion of his new gas furnace. That's a whole new way to die, people. Chalk it up on the bingo card. We're gonna fucking die. Alright, so how are we going to go about the smelting? Well, there are a few different ways we can do this. You see, when you make an ingot in this game, or when you smelt any ore in this game really, you run into a bit of a problem where the ores that you are actually refining will put off gases. They basically have a bunch of junk baked into them that they will off-gas into the room or the furnace or whatever it is that you're smelting them in. It's not great, especially if you're trying to hit the really precise mixture ratios that you need to do for some of these, especially Invar. Really looking at you here, Invar. Now, how do we avoid that? Well, there's 3 different schools of thought on this. Either you can kind of get the furnace so hot that it doesn't really matter, or so highly pressurized that all the ores just sort of melt away anyway, and then you vent it out and you run it through again with them still inside. Or you can process them down into ingots and smelt those into alloys because ingots don't off-gas, or you can do what I do, which is kind of to roast the ores individually. Now, how do we do this? Well, there's a few different ways, and all of them are sort of equally bad. To start with, you absolutely need to get some ice into your furnace, right? That's step 1. So we're going to put a little bit of oxide, and we're going to put in a little bit of volatiles. You can think of this like methane or hydrogen. Doesn't really matter. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, which makes me think it's hydrogen. You're making water, H2O, right? And as you can see, the temperature in here is rapidly climbing. We're at 1.5 thousand Celsius and climbing. Yeah, she's hot. She's hot. So what are we going to do with all that now? Well, we are going to process down some ores. If we run anything through that at the moment, it will turn into ingots. So let's make use of that. For example, silicon is notoriously tough to smelt. So why don't we put that in the top? This requires, I think it's the highest smelting temperature of all the base ores. And as you can see, the button's gone green. That means that she's ready to pop. And we can pop it out the bottom. Beautiful. Okay, but we want to make steel. Now, steel is fairly forgiving. Steel allows you to work at pretty much any temp pressure as long as your temperature is high enough. It's a really forgiving range. Above 1 megapascal, check. Above 900 Kelvin, check. So to do that, we just need a stack of coal, which I will pick up there, which we will chuck in the top. Beautiful. And then 3 stacks of iron, fed in one after the other. Make sure you've got exact numbers here. So we're doing 150 iron to 50 coal. If we did 148 iron to 50 coal, it would not work. And boom, just like that, we've got ourselves 200 grams of steel. I'm going to chuck that in there, and then I'm going to do it again. So I actually want 2 sets of 200 for this. Okay, our pressure is actually above the threshold required for Invar, but I'm watching that temperature rapidly declining, and that's sort of what I was talking about. All the junk that these ores are spitting out into the chamber with them is making it harder for them, is making it harder for the furnace to keep the temperature up. It's cooling things down, basically. in order to make Invar, we've got the pressure we needed. Sorry, not Invar, Constantin. We've got the pressure we needed, but not the temperature. It's too cold now. There's a few different ways we can deal with this. The simplest one, to be completely honest, is to vacuum the damn thing out. Stand very far away and just dump all that hot gas out of the furnace. Just chuck it on the ground. We're not going to be using it anyway. Wait, going the wrong way. Gotta go that way. But there is another thing we can do here, which is equally goofy. And let's actually set that up while we're waiting. So let's get a passive vent, and let's get a valve, and then we'll do the insulated pipes. Okay, check this out, because it's just the right kind of stupid. We'll put the valve, yeah, right here. We'll put the passive vent right under it. You can stop running for a second. And we're gonna do something like this. Okay, grande, because now, right, we've got 20 megapascals of pressure sitting inside that furnace. We're down to 14. If I pull this, imagine what's going to happen. Whee! It just dumps it all into the atmosphere around us. Much faster and less power demanding than vacuuming it all out, mole by mole. Okay, so that's that. Let's replace all of these pipes with insulated ones, and that way we won't be losing gas to the or at least heat to the atmosphere, which is going to make all of this smelting just that much easier. Non-insulated pipes pretty much exist in this game to allow new players to blow themselves up. I can't see another purpose of them. And while this is so hot, we can actually do another part of the puzzle. So it's not hot enough to smelt yet, but we can run all the other ores through there, right? The rationale being that we can then get the gas off it. We're kind of roasting the ore. Or in this case, smelting it, because copper smelts at such a low temperature. It's a cheap date, what can I say? I wonder, are we low enough in temperature here to do lead? We are actually almost low enough in temperature to do lead. I think we might be able to make solder. And I'll be honest, I'm tempted to just make a double stack. Where does solder come in? At 1 megapascal, 350 Kelvin to 550. Okay, so we're right on the edge. We can make solder. Let's do that. Put more lead in, put more iron in. Let's make a double stack of solder. We'll make 200 grams. It's just a bit of a pain to make it, so I want to make it as much as I can in one go here. Gorgeous. 200 grams of solder. All right, next up, what do we want? We've got electrum pre-prepared. Let's grab our nickel. Where did the nickel end up? There it is. Let's get this stuff roasted. All right, gorgeous. So those all need really high pressure. The electrum does not. So what we want to do now is actually vacuum out this as much as possible. So let's run this again. We want to completely vacuum out this tank. Get that as close to zero as we can. While we wait for it to do it, we might as well just off-gas the rest of this again for the same reason, so that it doesn't interfere with our smelts later. Run some iron through there, sure. And now that those pipes are insulated, there is no way that this thing is going to mess with me. It's great. Okay, so that's down to the kilopascal range, which is awesome. Close that, turn that off, and let's fire this bad boy up. So we're going to use a tiny amount of ore. We got to be careful because in the daytime it will melt my ices. Okay, we want to do pretty small smelt because, again, to make electrum, we have to be within a very tight range. Yeah, 800 to 2.4 megapascals, which is absolutely not where we are. So let's chuck in the silver. Let's chuck in the gold. Wow, day's already over, huh? Okay, so we've got the ratio we need, but we don't have the pressure. It is way too high. So let's start vacuuming this out until we hit the pressure line we want. And again, it's just such a pain to make this stuff. I'm going to do a double batch here. As soon as that button goes green, we pull the lever. There it is. Okay, pull the button, and we've made ourselves electrum. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, stop getting vacuumed, because now we need to do the opposite. We need to go really, really hot. I'm going to put in 12 oxide, and a stupid amount of volatiles. You know, just screw it, put 20. This might blow up. We'll find out. Okay, set that on fire. Now, actually, if we'd pre-prepared the Invar, we might have been able to pull the lever quickly enough while it was in the temperature range, but that's okay. All right, start with the Constantin. And we may or may not have created the sun. Ah, beautiful. And if we had this in a vacuum box, it would actually stay at that temperature, which is just insane. This is going to be Constantan. 20 to 100 megapascals, copper and nickel. I put copper and iron in there, didn't I? Yep. My own genius astounds me. Okay. Bit of a problem. I do still have iron. Nickel. Yeah, definitely check your ores, kids. Check your ores. Beautiful. Okay, there's our Constantan. That one's done. Now, reload the reagent mix from earlier. That's iron and nickel. And now we need to start pulling pressure out. Because we are aiming to make Invar, which means we need to be under 20 megapascals. Between 18 and 20, very specifically. Right, button's about to flash green. Get ready.
Waste tank caution.
Button. It's not green. What's wrong with you? Oh, it's too hot. Okay, it'll cool down in a second. There we go. Pick it up. Oh. Mark Gotme wins again, baby. Nobody stops the mark. Okay, now we just finish up the smelt of all the other dreg we've got floating around in here. There's some gold. There's some iron. Oh. Oh, that's a good feeling. Oh, that's a real good feeling. I'm happy with that. Now, there are many, many things in Stationeers that will kill you quickly and dramatically, and one of them, unfortunately, is running out of power. Right now, the sun being all the way out there does absolutely nothing for us. We need to take those rays and put them in our batteries, which means we probably want some bigger batteries. That's going to be step 1 in the not dying procedures. Step 2 is going to be getting our oxygen, there you go, situation sorted out, because this ain't going to last us forever, unfortunately, or even very much longer, to be honest. The second we get some pollutant in that room, that all falls apart, and with my skills and with this manual airlock, that is just about a guarantee. So the goal for today is going to be get a bigger battery going. And then once the bigger battery is going, we're probably going to want to look at automating solar tracking, for which I will probably use coding rather than chips. Okay, so let's start this off with the kit battery. It takes a while to print, and while it's printing, I can work on some other stuff to make this all viable. We need a kit battery. No, I think it might just be battery kit. Oh, okay, it is kit battery, but you need parentheses. We need gold and we need steel. You've got gold and steel. How about you decide to share for once, huh? There's the steel. There's the gold. Now, we do also need to start being a bit careful, because we are now getting onto day 7, which means that sandstorms, according to the meteorological reports, are becoming a real threat, which means I need some lockers. Let's print out a pair of these, and we'll just place them strategically around the space to make sure we don't let anything blow away. Except that. That can definitely blow away. While waiting for the printer to magic him up a bigger battery, Mark tidied up his workshop and then got cracking on some other upgrades. Okay, you can start working us towards our goals of automation, but I think the first thing we're actually going to want to do is build the electronic printer mod. Let's take this printer up to level 2. There's only one level of upgrades to each printer in Stationeers, and I want to take it all the way to the top. So for that, we need the Constantan, we need the Electrum, and we need that, we actually might need the solder and the Invar, so I'll put both in there. Okay, cool. Let's make one of those. Definitely don't want more than one. And that's just going to allow us to print basically everything in the game. In that printer, anyway. Of course, there are. The other printers also all have upgrades. The Tier True Toolmaker is really nice as well, because you can get a better drill. But I think for now, what I'm actually going to work towards is an arc welder. I'd really like to have one of these. We need the steel, electrum, invar, and solder, which are currently occupied. But I'd love to have an arc welder, because then we don't have to worry about gases anymore. What else could we get here? We could get the pneumatic drill. That's a pretty serious upgrade over the basic drill, and we don't have to upgrade this thing to get it. We could get some mining backpacks. That's pretty nice as well. That's just iron, and that lets us carry a lot more stuff. So why don't we start working towards stuff like that? So our little mining belt, as you all know, has pretty limited storage space. It's got a total of 8 slots you can work with, whereas a mining backpack has something like, oh, I don't even know, what's that, 4 by 6? It's a lot more. It's a hell of a lot more. Okay, I only need 2 of them. I like to keep them in my backpack just like this. I like one to be for ices, and I think we'll spray that purple. And I'd like the other one to be for ores, which I think we'll make black. Lovely. Okay, so now we can stash our ores in there when we go mining. However, progress takes time, and the sun had already well and truly set by the time Mark was ready to begin his solar tracking preparations. The first step was to tear down the existing infrastructure, if we could even call it that, and place down the new station battery. This has almost 12 times the charge of the large portable battery he was using previously, and will make sure he has somewhere to store all that surplus power. Yeah, well, as soon as he finds some, that is. With more power comes thicker cables though, and so the whole system got a glow up. That's thick with 2 C's, I'll have you know. With the groundwork laid, it was time to get everything set up for solar tracking. Alright, you need to start making me all the stuff I need in order to make solar tracking. So the first thing we're going to need is a sensor. We need to be able to tell where the sun is, so we need a daylight sensor. Let's spit out that iron. We don't need it anymore. And let's keep that over here. Okay, so sensor, done. The daylight sensor needs to face the same direction as the power port of your solar panels. So I'm going to stick this, let's say, right over here. It's facing the same direction as the power port, as in the data port over there. It's facing 90 degrees, same as the power port. And that is just going to make the math a whole lot easier. Next up, what do I need? I need an IC housing. This is something that's going to hold our programmable chip. This one right over there. And then I need the actual IC chip itself. And then we need a way to program it. And like I said, there's a couple ways we can do this, but we're going to go with the laptop because I like portability. Okay, with the IC chip being printed, we can't actually program it yet. We do need that laptop. So let's prep that, which looks like it just needs a little bit of copper, which I think I have some stashed right over here. Beautiful. You need some more gold, huh? That might be a problem. Unfortunately, life and productivity had other plans, and a quick detour to pick up some more gold was needed. Most of day 8 was eaten up by Mark's little emergency mining expedition. But with the afternoon sun still high in the sky, he returned triumphant and immediately began ramming all his shiny new rocks into a very hot box. That gave him the laptop and motherboard needed to make it work. Mark also cooked up a labeling tool, which lets you rename things, a portable light, which lets you see what you're trying to rename, and a set of wireless batteries and a power transmitter, which do exactly what you think they do. Now I can stick a battery in that slot right there, turn this on, pick it up, and put it in my suit, and we are now our own walking light source. And as long as we're near the base, and as long as the base has power, so do we. Pretty damn snazzy. Atrocious timing. Okay, I'm going to do a quick bit of damage control and actually pick up my solar panel right now, because this thing is going to get damaged in the storm. And if we pick it up, it won't get damaged. If we just keep it packed away for the moment, it'll be fine. Alright, back inside, and the storm is still raging. We're going to do a little bit of programming, and I think we should do this au naturel. You know, completely naked, so we can deal with some of that gross hydration issue, or sorry, hygiene issue we've currently got going on. This right here is a circuit housing, an IC housing to be specific. What this does is allow us to place an IC chip inside it, just like that, and then we can directly communicate with 6 devices. These are labeled D0 to D5. Remember, in programming, 0 is your first number for some insane reason. This is a interface, right? And there actually are 16 little variables built into the chip we can communicate with directly, and using a little bit of programming wizardry, we can talk to pretty much any device as long as it's connected to this data input. But today, we are going to try and keep things simple. We are going to chuck our laptop right over there, and we're going to do a little bit of programming. So let's put the chip back in it, and then let's strip completely naked. In fact, why don't we put everything inside of our backpack, and then throw that on the floor, and voila! We're coding au naturel. Just the way it should be. And I'm going to click edit, and you can, by the way, pause the game. This will allow you to freeze things in case you are under a bit of time pressure, but we actually want the sun to come back up and that storm to end, so I'm not too worried. Now, there are many different ways you can interface with devices in Stationeers. The simplest one is to talk directly to the device screw pin, which is the little one we saw down there. D0 will talk to device 0, D1 will talk to device 1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, you get the idea. DB, by the way, talks to the device itself. We're not going to worry about all that. We're going to give everything human-readable names, and to do that, we're going to use the code function alias. We're going to say alias sensor, that's the name, and we're going to set that to D0. You can always hover over a function and it will give you an idea of what you can do with it. So D0 is where we're going to attach our sensor, and we're going to be referring to it as sensor instead of D0 in our code. Super straightforward. Now we want to talk to a series of solar panels, not just one. So we're actually going to define solar panel like this by its hash number, which is kind of like a numerical identifier the game gives pretty much every device. We're going to be using the dual panels, and we're going to click on this right here, the prefab hash. We click that, we paste it there, and suddenly everything with that number, which is basically any solar panel, will be referred to in this code as solar panel. Suns come up, which means we want to hit pause and get started on our actual coding. The next thing we're going to want to do is also talk to a couple of specific variables. We want to know what the horizontal and vertical angle of the sun is at any given time, and we're going to use this a lot, so we might as well keep it in easy to read English. So we're going to alias vertical, which will be, oh, you know, let's do the whole thing. This will be vertical, and we're going to set that to R0, and we're going to alias horizontal, and we're going to set that to R1. So what is a register? It's like a little digital location where you can store a number. Pretty much any number you can think of, and we're going to use it just like that. There are 16 of them on each chip, but you can overwrite them as many times as you need. Just remember that if you overwrite it, well, it's not there anymore. So if you want to keep specific ones forever, I like to give them names so I don't forget and accidentally use them in future coding. Now we're going to start our tracking program next. Of course, because we want to track the sun, it's something we need to be continuously doing. We don't want to just do it once. Everything that's running at the top here will just run once and then the program will end. If we wanted to continuously do something, we need to create what is effectively a loop. To do that, I'm going to give it the name tracking. I'm going to hit colon, just like that. And then I'm going to go down a few lines and type J for jump and go back up to tracking. Now, this is pretty straightforward. What we're doing is saying, I want you to start a series of commands under the name tracking. You're going to go down the list sequentially, like this, and then you're going to get to this command, which says jump, and it's going to jump back to the line that was named tracking, back up here. So effectively what you're doing is running down the list and then starting again at the top. And what we've just made is a loop. Super straightforward. The first thing we're going to do in our loop is yield. We're going to tell the game to just hang out, chill for a second, wait one game tick, which is about half a second real life. It's not enough that you'll really notice it as the player, but it gives the code a little bit of a chance to avoid lag issues and overcome any bugs that are associated with them. If you're playing with VSync on, by the way, it's really recommended that you use this. Now, let's do some actual programming to, make our code do something. So we've got a sensor, and we've got the sun. We need to find out what the sun is doing using the sensor. To do that, we want to load a value from it. So we are going to load into the variable vertical from the sensor the logic type vertical. If you ever want to know what kind of logic types a device has, you can quickly just head over to its Stationepedia entry, and you can see them all over here under logic. So this one we can read the mode, which is like whether or not it's tracking or not. It's basically always doing so. Activate is whether or not it sees the sun. Horizontal and vertical is just the angle of the sun. The solar angle is the actual compound sum between those two. On is, well, you guessed it, turning it on, and so on and such as. We don't really need the rest of it just yet. It's not too important for what we're doing. We're also going to want to load in the horizontal. There we go. So now, instead of having to do this each time I want to do some maths, I can just talk directly to these variables because they have where the sun is at this exact moment in the program's loop. So what do we want to do with it? Well, to track the sun on Mars, you need to do a very, very simple set of equations. What you need to do is take the actual solar horizontal angle and subtract 90 from it, and then set that to your panel. And then you want to take 90 and subtract the vertical angle from it and set that to your panel. So we've actually got these set up in the other way, so we'll just do it backwards. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract vertical 90 vertical. Now, this may seem like a bit of a strange setup, but I want you to think of it like this. Instead of A plus B equals C, what we've got here is C equals A plus B. So vertical will be equal to 90 subtracting whatever vertical was. So let's say it was 50, right? Which means now vertical will be equal to 90 minus 50, which means vertical is now 40. And then what we want to do is set batch, which means don't just set it to one device, set it to all devices of the name. You can see here solar panel, that's the device hash. We want to set its vertical value to whatever is stored in the register named vertical. So what we're going to do, again, the solar panel's vertical value will be set to whatever is stored in this value over here. Straightforward and easy to understand, I hope. All right, now we do the exact same thing for the horizontal. So for this one, we are going to use the subtract function again. We want to work with the horizontal variable, and we want to just flip what we were doing. So this time, horizontal will be equal to itself. Horizontal will be, I can't spell. Horizontal and 90. There we go. So horizontal will be equal to horizontal minus 90. That's the idea. So again, let's say the horizontal was 50. This time it's 50 minus 90, meaning horizontal gets set to negative 40. The order you do this is kind of important just for that reason, right? Sometimes you can go below 0, it matters, but usually the horizontal is like above 180, so it all works out. Next up, we're going to do the same thing again for solar panel, horizontal, and we set it to whatever was in the horizontal value. Perfect, done and done. That's it, the program's over. And now we #loop again. And that's it. That is our entire program. So let's go ahead, we're gonna hit confirm. We're going to make sure we click export, right? Pick it up, pick that up, put it away, put our pants back on, and then get out there. So let's see what we can get up to. Still bright and early in the morning. Thank God we have power over time itself. And let's put down our panels first and foremost. So we want to make sure that power is connected to the back end of this grid and that data comes out the other side. And then we've got to make sure that our IC housing chip has its data port on that end. We want data to connect to here, and we want to make sure it's getting power from this side of the battery network. Otherwise, if we connect it to this side, if this thing runs out of power, i.e. if there's no sun or wind, then the tracking stops working, which is a no bueno. We definitely want to make sure this thing has a battery backup. We've got one right there. So let's wire this in. Let's turn it on, and you'll see it'll start flashing an error. It's saying there's an error at line 10. If we take a quick look at our code, you will see that line 10 is when we want to load information from our sensor. The reason it's got an error is because we haven't connected the sensor to it. So let's do that first. We're going to use a couple of cables just like this. All right, and yet we've still got the error at line 10. Why would that be, even if we reset it? Well, it's because we haven't set the pin. Remember, we told this thing to look for a daylight sensor on pin 0. So we're just going to click that once so that it associates with it. And voila, we should start tracking the sun. Let's see if this works. And it does! Hey, there we go. Beautiful. We have officially managed to achieve 99% efficient solar tracking. It even flashed to 100 there for a second. Now, the reason this isn't going to stay at 100 is because we are using round numbers. We're subtracting 90 each time, when in reality, the actual angle is going to be some minute fraction of that. So we're never going to always be at exactly 100. And of course, there's also a bit of lag time, which it takes to move, and the sun's moving, and the refresh rates are slightly different. So you'll never really get 100, but I mean, you get pretty close, right? I think 100% efficiency is 551 watts, and this is giving us like 549 on average, which for a fella such as myself is a plenty. And just like that, we've got ourselves basically infinite energy. Now, the next thing that's going to kill us is going to be gas. We're going to need to figure out a way of safely storing and using oxygen. So for that, we're going to need an atmospherics kit. This is going to allow us to filter oxygen out of our greenhouse and actually do something with it. With everything printed, it was time for Mark to strip oxygen out of his greenhouse atmosphere. He's not gonna get naked yet. This is achieved with a filtration unit, which does just about exactly what you think it does. Pies. It takes gases in on one side, pulls out whatever you tell it to using filters, and then spits out everything else. Our needs for the moment are very simple, and thus so is our setup. The filter will pull air from the room using a passive vent connected to the input, pump the filtered oxygen into a pipe network on the output, and then just dump the rest back into the room. The output pipe will then be connected to a pressure regulator, which will control the amount of O2 we actually pump into our canisters, so that we don't spontaneously convert them into bombs. A couple of pipe meters will let us check the contents at a glance, and this whole thing will just be left to run. We can easily automate it in the future, but for now, this will work beautifully. However, we do have a small problem, which is that there is now crud inside this container. There's a bunch of gases I don't want ending up in my pure oxygen network. So we are going to have to do something a little bit more nefarious, a little bit more dastardly than I'm used to doing. Oh, that's not true. It's a huge lie, actually. We are always doing bullshit like this. We put our helmet on, we vacuum all this out, and then we vacuum out this canister as well. We want to make sure it is completely empty. Yeah, I know. We open that up, we take off our helmet, and now if we look at this tank, because we opened it up in pure vacuum, it should have pure vacuum in it, and it does. Beautiful. Alright, that's one way you can clean your tanks. So now that network is not going to have any polluting gases in there, because of course, naturally, this is just looking at the room, if I had added that canister with all its junk in it into this network, it would have caused some pollution. Oh, beautiful. And look at that. Day 10. And only a few things are wrong. Okay, so what do we need to work on next? Well, we've been calling this place a greenhouse for a while, and that has yet to be true. So I suppose that's the next thing we want to do. Let's get a water system built in here. We'll get some hydroponics over here along this side. We'll get an ice crusher. We'll get a water bottle refiller, although it's going to be a while before that's an issue. And I guess a locker, just to kind of tidy things up in here a bit. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? So what do we want to do? We want to build hydroponics. To do that, we are going to need ourselves an ice crusher. This will smash ice and take out the liquid. Specifically, it'll melt it intentionally. Rather than just letting it melt into the room and into the air, we want to put it in a pipe. So it's useful to use a machine for that purpose. Smelting that is going to require us to weld inside, which is a problem. If we use the gas welder indoors, it does actually produce a bunch of waste gas. I'll show you what I mean. Let's weld up this frame and you'll see if you look at the temperature in the bottom right, it's going to spike over there to like 500 C, and that's because there's a bunch of waste gas produced when you weld using these things, which is simply no bueno. We don't want that. Which means we need to get the arc welder built, which means I'm going to need to take all of this crud out of here. Okay, you make me an arc welder. I need electrum, invar, and solder. And in fact, let's get some pipe utility kits, these ones right here. Those will allow us to store a whole bunch of water. Okay, there is our new welder. Now this needs a large battery to work. I'm going to put away the gas one. We're not going to use that anymore. Let's take out all of our resources. And then I also want you to make me a water bottle filler. And then I need you to make me some pipes. Okay, that should be good. And then I also want some insulated pipes as well. Let's get a liquid pipe meter so we can see exactly how much water we have in our pipes at any given moment. Let's also get a pipe cowling so we can vent out any gas that's produced when we melt the ice, because there's usually a bit of nitrogen with the water ice, if I remember correctly. And then I think we just need a bunch of cables, really, to connect this all up. With everything printed, the only thing missing from this hydroponic setup was the hydro, and so a quick jaunt over to the local Martian ice fields was in order. Then it was just a matter of turning it into a liquid. That's where the ice crusher comes in. It'll smash whatever you feed it into tiny little bits and then heat them up to whatever temperature you set it to. Now look, I'm a pretty big fan of liquid water, as we're all very aware, but I'm an even bigger fan of the petrochemical industry. And so naturally, a plastic water bottle station was the next item on the menu. This is connected to the crusher via some liquid pipes, not to be confused with solid pipes, of course, which will also double as our water storage tank for the time being. Once the customary pipe meter was added, it was time for a little demonstration. When we run this, let me just put some ice through it and you'll see what I mean. If we stick some water ice in there, you'll see that it is currently slowed down because it is heating the liquids that it's producing up. And if we look inside that tank, you'll see we've got nitrogen and H2O. It's not just water, it's water and nitrogen, which means we need to get rid of the gas that's in there. And that is where the pipe cowling we made comes in handy, which is over here. And it's kind of like a passive vent, you just don't need to attach it to a wall. You can just stick that right there, and any nitrogen that comes out of this machine will just be put into this room, which will help pressurize it, which is always good. Okay, then, do I have any useful ices in this mining backpack? Yes, I've got a bunch of water and a little bit of volatiles. I kind of wanted some oxide, but we'll get that next time. That's okay. We need to link this all up to the hydroponics next, which I didn't print. Okay, let's go print some hydroponics. Uh-oh. Unfortunately, that heating element was a little power hungry, and our piddly base battery died. You gotta love entropy. Thankfully, we had a spare and could immediately get back to work. Okay, let's go ahead and place these down, and I think, what about right here? That seems like a pretty good place for a hydroponic setup, so we just need to run our pipes over to that point. Now, just as a quirk of this game, if we were to build an uninsulated pipe on this corner, it'll actually stick out between the corners of these two frames because there's actually a gap over there, and we don't want that. So we want to make sure we use an insulated pipe on that little piece there. There we go. We've got water going all the way to our actual hydroponics base, which is awesome. We've got 2 liters of liquid in there, which is pretty sweet. Now, if I place this in there, turn that on, it'll fill up. Beautiful. Each one of these water bottles does hold, I think it's 1.5 liters of water. So we'll just keep both of them in there. That's for safe storage, but we'll finish off everything in these boxes first. That does actually bring us to day 11 here, or just about to be. But before we wrap things up, I do want to make one last improvement to this base. And that is going to be to put down some lockers. And what better place to put this than right over here? Beautiful. There we go. Nice and cleaned up. And honestly, oh, we don't actually need this nitrogen filter in our suit anymore, so that one can just get recycled. We might as well finish off that CO2 filter. And then, and this is what we've all been waiting for, let's put down some potatoes. They are barely growing towards fruiting. Hell yeah! If we look at a potato, you'll see that it wants a grow temperature between between 20 and 30. That's the range, which we're actually in. We're at 25C. That's pretty much perfect. However, it does want more pressure. I think it wants 50 kph. Yeah, that's its absolute minimum it can grow at is 25, but the ideal is 50. So we want to get the kPa up to 50 in this room, which is totally fine. We'll go mine some oxide, chuck it in here, and all will be well. But those are plans for next time. Will Mark survive the next 10 days? Is there even any hope in Hellas that he'll make it to 100? I genuinely have no idea, but I am sure keen to find out. If you enjoyed this video, be a dull and forcibly decompress that like button for us, or drop your suggestions for what we should prioritize next. And if you'd like to see where this goes, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Pair of wind turbines place Mark in a polyamorous relationship with his power network, allowing many partners to join in and on the... Sorry, this is stupid joke. Does he see in the wind turbines? Is that the joke? Is it a polyamorous relationship with his power network? I need to see a psychiatric evaluator, a psychiatrist, I believe they're called. People sometimes finish sentences without 3 separate tangents and a trip to the pharmacy, but not me. Never I.